was my birthday. And not just any birthday. My 70th birthday. I woke up early that morning with a strange heaviness in my chest. Birthdays were supposed to be joyful, but this one felt different. Something about the way my children had been whispering around me, exchanging glances, and keeping their voices low. It didn't feel like they were planning a surprise party. It felt colder. I tried to brush the thought away. After all, these were my children. The same children I had carried in my womb, nursed through sickness, stayed up nights with, sacrificing my own dreams so theirs could shine. Surely I was just being paranoid. But then at breakfast, my daughter Emily slid a little envelope across the table with a forced smile. "Happy birthday, Mom," she said. Her tone was polite, but empty. I opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside, there wasn't a card, or a sweet note, or even a picture of my grandchildren. No. It was a glossy brochure. A nursing home brochure. I froze. My fork slipped from my hand and clattered against the plate. My heart dropped to the floor. Before I could even form words, my son Michael leaned forward and said quietly, almost rehearsed, "Mom, we think it's time. You've lived alone long enough. You'll have people to take care of you there. It's for the best." The words sliced through me like a knife. For the best. I looked at their faces. Calm, calculated, cold. Not one of them looked at me with warmth. Not one remembered that this was supposed to be a day to celebrate my life. Instead, they were already planning to bury me alive in a place where old people were forgotten. I swallowed hard. I wanted to scream, to cry, to ask them how dare you? But instead I smiled faintly, set the brochure on the table, and whispered, "Thank you for thinking of me." Because in that moment I decided something. If they thought they could throw me away like a burden, they were in for the shock of their lives. I excused myself from the breakfast table, holding that brochure like it was a poisonous snake. As I walked back to my room, my legs felt heavy, my heart pounding in my chest. The silence in the house was deafening. My children didn't call after me, didn't ask if I was okay. They just let me go, like I was already gone. I sat on my bed, staring at the glossy pictures on the brochure. Smiling old people playing bingo, sterile white walls, cheerful nurses who were probably too busy to care. It wasn't a home. It was a place where people waited to die. And my own children wanted me there. That night I didn't sleep. I lay awake, replaying every sacrifice I had ever made for them. I remembered the nights I went hungry so they could eat. The times I worked double shifts to buy them school supplies. The evenings I sat by their beds, praying over their fevers, whispering, "Don't take my child, God. Take me instead." And now on my birthday their gift was abandonment. But somewhere between midnight and dawn my tears dried. My sorrow turned into something sharper. Resolve. They thought I was weak. They thought I had no power left. But I wasn't going to let them erase me. Not yet. What my children didn't know was this. I had a secret. For years I had quietly been building something they never cared to ask about, because they assumed I had nothing. When their father died, I didn't just sit around grieving. I invested. I studied. I learned how to grow money, how to build income streams. I didn't talk about it because they never asked. They saw me as a frail old widow who lived on scraps of pension. But in reality, I owned something they couldn't even imagine. A house. Not just this little one I was sitting in. A bigger one. A property I had quietly renovated with the help of an old friend from my youth. A property so beautiful, so strong, that it wasn't just a house, it was a statement. And I had been waiting for the right moment to reveal it. That moment had come. The next morning, I greeted my children with a calm smile. "I've been thinking about what you said." I told them, my voice steady. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I can't live alone anymore. But before I decide, I want to show you something." They exchanged curious glances. Emily raised her eyebrow, suspicious. "What do you mean, Mom?" "You'll see," I said softly. I insisted we take a drive together that weekend. They resisted at first, busy schedules, excuses, but I didn't give them a choice. "I've given you everything all my life," I said. "The least you can do is give me one afternoon." So they agreed, reluctantly. And as we drove out of town, their confusion grew. "Where are we going?" Michael asked, his voice impatient. You'll see, I repeated, keeping my eyes on the road ahead. Finally, we pulled into a long driveway, lined with tall oaks that swayed gently in the wind. At the end of the drive stood a house. But not just any house. A grand, restored Victorian estate. White walls gleaming, windows shining, gardens blooming. It looked like something out of a dream. Their jaws dropped. Mom, what is this? Emily whispered. I turned off the engine, stepped out, and spread my arms. Welcome to my home. The silence was delicious. For once, my children had nothing to say. I led them inside, where polished wooden floors glowed under warm chandeliers. The air smelled of lavender and old books. Cozy armchairs sat by the fireplace, and the dining room table was set for a feast. This is yours? Michael stammered. Yes, I said, smiling calmly. I bought it years ago. Renovated it quietly. Planned it as a place where our family could always gather, no matter how old I got. I looked at them, my voice hardening. But you didn't see me. You didn't ask. You assumed I was weak, disposable, and you planned to ship me off like unwanted luggage. They shifted uncomfortably, guilt flickering in their eyes. You wanted to put me in a nursing home, I continued. But here's the truth. I was preparing a home for all of us. A legacy. Something to pass down to you and to your children. But now, I let the words hang heavy and sharp. Now I'm not sure you deserve it. Their faces turned pale. Emily finally broke the silence. Mom, we just wanted what's best for you. I laughed bitterly. No. You wanted what was easiest for you. You didn't want the responsibility. You didn't want the inconvenience. So you wrapped your selfishness in the words for the best. Michael muttered, that's not fair. Not fair. I snapped. I gave you my youth, my strength, my life. And on my birthday you wanted to give me a death sentence. Tell me, what part of that is fair? Their eyes fell to the floor. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Then softer I said, you wanted to put me in a place where people go to be forgotten. But instead, I'm standing in a place I built to be remembered. For a moment, the air inside that house was thick with silence. My children shifted uneasily, as though the floor itself had turned against them. Michael finally cleared his throat. Mom, you should have told us. We didn't know. I narrowed my eyes. Didn't know? Or didn't care to know? His mouth opened, but no words came. Emily was wringing her hands, her eyes darting around the house. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the chandeliers, the antiques, the paintings on the walls. Her gaze wasn't filled with wonder. It was filled with greed. I knew that look. I had seen it before when she fought her brother for the last slice of cake as a child. But now the cake was much bigger. My beautiful house. My hidden treasure. And she wanted it. I had arranged for a catered meal that night. A feast worthy of a celebration. Roasted chicken, buttery potatoes, warm bread, wine that glistened in crystal glasses. We sat around the long oak dining table. Let's eat, I said, my voice calm. After all, it is still my birthday. At first no one spoke. Forks scraped quietly against plates. The silence was heavier than the food. Finally my youngest, Daniel, the one who had always been the quiet observer, looked up at me. His eyes were softer than the others. Mom, we were wrong, he said, his voice trembling. I don't know what got into us. You don't deserve a nursing home. You deserve this. You deserve peace. Forgive me. His words pierced my heart. Out of all three, at least one of my children still had a conscience. But before I could reply, Emily spoke sharply. So what's the plan, Mom? Are you moving here now? Selling the old house? Her tone wasn't curiosity. It was calculation. Michael chimed in too, though more cautiously. Yeah, Mom, this is incredible. But handling a place like this at your age, don't you think it's too much? I put down my fork and stared at them. There it was. The hunger in their voices. Not hunger for food. Hunger for inheritance. After dinner, I led them into the library. The fire crackled in the hearth as shadows danced along the walls lined with books. I turned to face them, my heart steady. I brought you here for a reason, I said. I wanted you to see what I've built. what I plan to leave behind. But after what you tried to do, I can't ignore it. I have a choice to make. A choice about my legacy. Their eyes widened. They knew what was coming. Emily leaned forward, her voice sugar-coated. Mom, we made a mistake. We were insensitive. But we love you. Of course we do. I smiled faintly. Love isn't measured by words, Emily. It's measured by actions. And your actions told me everything I needed to know. Michael's jaw tightened. So what, you're just going to cut us off? Pretend we're not your children? I paused, letting the question linger in the air. Then I said softly, I don't need to pretend. You already did that yourselves. The following week, I met with my lawyer. For years, my will had been simple. Everything divided equally among my 3 children. But now things were different. I rewrote it. Carefully. Deliberately. I left a portion for each of them. Enough so they could never say I disowned them. But the bulk of my estate, including the grand house, I left to someone else. Daniel. The only one who had spoken with sincerity. The only one who still saw me as a mother, not a wallet. But I added a twist. If Daniel chose not to keep the house, it wouldn't go to his siblings. It would be donated, turned into a shelter for single mothers and children in need. Because I knew what it was like to struggle alone. And I wanted my legacy to be more than just family property. I wanted it to mean something. But secrets have a way of slipping out. 2 weeks later, I received a call from my lawyer. Someone had tried to access my documents. Someone close. Emily. When confronted, she denied it. But her eyes gave her away. She had wanted to see if she was still in my will. She wanted control. That night, I cried. Not because I lost trust in her. I had already known the truth. But because somewhere deep inside, I remembered the little girl she once was. The one who used to curl up in my lap, whispering, Mommy, don't ever leave me. Now, she was the one trying to leave me behind. On the eve of my next birthday, I invited them all again. One more dinner. One more chance. The table was set the same way. The house glowed warmly. But this time, the air was heavy with unspoken truths. I stood, raising my glass. Last year, you gave me a gift I'll never forget, I began. You showed me where I stand in your lives. And it broke me. But it also freed me. Because now I see clearly. They shifted uneasily. This house, this legacy. I was going to leave it all to you. But then I realized, why should I leave it to those who would throw me away? Why should my life's work be reduced to a number in your bank accounts? Emily's face flushed red. Michael's jaw clenched. Daniel looked down, tears in his eyes. I continued, my voice steady. So I made my decision. When I'm gone, Daniel will inherit this house. Because he still remembers what family means. And if he chooses otherwise, it will go to people who truly need it. Not to those who see me as a burden. The room fell silent. Emily stood abruptly, her chair scraping the floor. This is ridiculous. You can't do this. I looked her straight in the eye. I can. And I have. That night, Emily stormed out. Michael followed quietly, his pride too wounded to speak. Daniel stayed behind. He helped me clear the table, washed the dishes, and sat with me by the fire. Mom, he whispered. I don't want the house. I just want you. Tears welled in my eyes. Because in that simple sentence, he gave me the greatest gift my other children never could. Love. Months passed. Emily stopped visiting. Michael called occasionally, but his voice was distant. Only Daniel remained constant. And then one morning there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, Emily stood there, her face pale, her eyes swollen from crying. Mom, she whispered, breaking down. I lost everything. My husband left me. The money's gone. I don't have anywhere to go. For a long moment, I stared at her. The daughter who had once tried to discard me was now the one discarded. Part of me wanted to turn her away, to let her taste the loneliness she had tried to serve me. But another part of me, the mother in me, couldn't. I opened the door wider. Come in, I said softly. Because in the end, my greatest revenge wasn't cutting them off. It was showing them that no matter how cold their hearts became, mine still remembered love. I don't know how long I have left in this world. But I know this. When I'm gone, they will remember me. Not as the frail old woman they thought they could discard, but as the mother who built a home with her own two hands, who faced betrayal with strength, and who left behind not just a house, but a lesson. That love is not about what you take. It's about what you give. And sometimes, the greatest shock you can give those who betray you is to rise stronger, love deeper, and leave behind a legacy they can never buy.